Growing up, I was a huge Britney Spears fan. I mean, she was everywhere, including my stereo system in my room. But did this documentary framing Britney Spears do a good job at not only shedding light on her current situation, but also diving deep into her past? That's what we'll talk about in this review. Let's get into it. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today we're diving into the Framing Britney Spears documentary episode on Hulu. This is an FX series. It's called The New York Times Presents, so it's a series of documentary style episodes, and I actually really dug the way they produced this. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but this was very educational for me because, like I said in my intro, I was a big Britney Spears fan. The only thing is, I didn't know much about her situation after her downfall, so this is a very interesting documentary and also raises a lot of questions. Now, before I get into my review, guys, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where yes, you can be a part of the Real family by hitting the big red button below and subscribing to the channel and tapping on that bell so you get notified whenever I drop a review for a movie or a TV show just like this. Guys, trust me, you'll want to keep those notifications on because this Friday, WandaVision, I have a feeling it's about to be crazy. And if you haven't already, smash that like button because it does a ton to help the channel, and get loud in the comments. Let's have a conversation about this, guys. What'd you think of the documentary? Did it do Britney Spears' story justice or not? Alrighty, guys, so let's get into this documentary episode. Now, like I mentioned earlier, my experience with Britney Spears and her story was pretty surface level, but I do remember being in supermarkets and becoming very much aware of tabloids. Honestly, they were super damaging. I remember them being very scummy, and I was really put on to the National Enquirer and all those different tabloids like Us Weekly and whatnot because of Britney Spears' situation with Kevin Federline, and then of course her shaving her head. So after that is where my memory gets foggy, and this documentary did help fill the void of the pockets of time that I missed with Britney Spears and her situation with not only her family but with her personal life. And that leads us right into the first thing that I really enjoyed about this documentary episode. It's just very well made. It's also incredibly thought out. I mean, there's just a wonderful pace to this. The hour and 14 minutes just blew by. I really wanted more, to be honest with you, because it was just so compelling. But the thing is, this is one of those documentaries that is going to use a lot of intercutting of old, previously used footage and mixing it with present day, and I think that's really cool because they go into the past to educate you on the present, and I love that it opens with the definition of conservator, and then it lets you know that we're gonna go back a little bit, and it's a very gradual progression towards the end, and it's a very fine build up, and I really do think that the directors and producers did their homework and it shows. The interviews here really do add a lot of color to the story, and the storytelling itself was gut-wrenching at times. I had knots in my stomach just thinking about all of the terrible things that Britney Spears went through. I felt helpless, and I think the idea of the documentary was to get you kind of in on what's going on now and a lot of the unknowns. There's a lot of stones that have not been turned over yet in this case, and it seems to me at least that we might be seeing another documentary if this all gets resolved over the next 10 years. This also showcased the worst of the worst when it comes to how she was treated by paparazzi, TV networks, and media in general. They were awful. I mean, not everyone's awful, but there were some moments here that just ripped my heart out, especially in that sit-down interview with Diane Sawyer, who, yes, I grew up knowing as a respected journalist, but that interview she had with Britney Spears was very much of an attack and didn't have a lot of journalistic integrity, and it reminded me of the interview she had with Whitney Houston, which was also another personal attack. So I gotta start to think about how the media was framing the story around Britney Spears, and that's what this documentary does. It challenges the viewer to think outside of what you previously knew about her situation. And when they dove into Britney Spears' relationships, I couldn't tell you I knew much about her and Justin Timberlake's relationship, but knowing what I know now, Crimea River definitely takes on a whole new meaning. Now, I understand, guys, breakups can be messy, especially for men and women of their age, but you can't just air out laundry like that. I mean, that's all I'll say, but I feel like he could have handled it a little bit differently, right? So that was just a very interesting segment, and it really was shedding new light on something, again, that I didn't know much about. I ended up being absolutely floored by the end because of how much I didn't know about this conservatorship. This is a very sensitive situation, not only for fans, but also for Britney Spears herself. I mean, before the documentary, I didn't even really know what a conservator was, and now I learned way more of the ins and outs thanks to this documentary. It literally, again, opens with the definition of conservator, so you know which direction they're going in. Now, the one thing that I loved about this documentary episode is that it spoke to the journalistic bone in my body, because as a journalist, I understand you need to get both sides of the story, and the New York Times did. At the end, you start to see that, oh, they tried to reach out to Jamie Spears, and everyone else that was pretty close to her and mentioned in this documentary, and guess what? They all declined or just did not respond to the request. That's pretty damning. And then arguably the most compelling part of this documentary was with the two hosts of a Britney Spears podcast, Britney's Gram, where they dissected Britney Spears' Instagram posts and her behavior on social media. Honestly, that was some detective work by those two ladies. So I am glad they included that. I'm glad they were able to get interviewed for this project, because it really opened my eyes up wide to a lot of things not being as they seem. Now, if you're a Britney Spears fan, I really do think that you're not going to enjoy this, but it is essential viewing. I'm not saying you won't enjoy this because it's not well produced, but what I am saying is that there are going to be moments here that are going to make you cry, scream, get angry, upset all over again. And I'm not even the biggest Britney Spears fan in the world, but I can still tell you that I felt suffocated and helpless, and I had all these wide range of emotions, and I think that was the idea of this documentary episode, and they succeeded. Now, I don't really have many negative notes for framing Britney Spears, but there is one thing I wish we would have gotten more of, and that is a deeper dive into her past, who she was before, well, who she is. And I kind of love that they gave us little snippets there when she was performing in malls. I mean, that was incredible, and seeing her fan base grow so organically too. But I get it. The direction here was more so we're going to get to the finish line, which is the conservatorship, and we're going to highlight a lot of her downfall. And it was hard to watch, don't get me wrong, but I really would have maybe liked this to breathe a little bit more and maybe become something bigger than itself. So 2 or 3 episodes could have really benefited the story here. Even though it's really solid and the pacing is good, that could have helped this become even better. So overall, you guys, this is one episode of TV you need to stream this week. And the reason I say that is because it is incredibly compelling, but also it is something that if you were a 90s kid, you're going to want to learn more about. You might already know a lot of what they're talking about in this documentary, but it's highlighted in a very different way. Me, I am a visual person, so reading an article, okay, it sticks with you, but this tore me up. It was definitely a harsh reminder that the paparazzi really did destroy men and women in Hollywood, and honestly, this is just one of those documentaries that highlights how women and men are mistreated by the media. So it is definitely giving you a lot in such a little amount of time that I think this is going to be well worth a watch this week. So again, guys, framing Britney Spears is, it's a difficult hour and 14 minutes, right? But it is something that I think is necessary in order to bring it to light, and hopefully things can change moving forward. So there you have it, guys. That's my real review of Framing Britney Spears, which you can find on Hulu this week. If I had to rate it, I would give it that 4-star out of 5. I can't technically rank it for my 2021 end of the year list because it's not really a film, but hey, if they ever stretch this out to a full-fledged documentary, you can believe that I'm going to be the first one to try and rush and see it. So guys, let me know what you think about it when you see it in the comments down below, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below and subscribe to the channel. Guys, I cannot believe we have such a packed February. Got my review for Cherry coming towards the end of the month, just got the screener sent to me. I'm very excited for that. Tom Holland, you can't go wrong with that guy. Alrighty guys, well again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.